Hey everybody, this is Perch, and this is one of those things where it's not news, but there's been some chatter online, and then not a lot of people paid attention to it, which, by the way, is probably a different problem. This is from Batman Urban Legends, and the theme is has DC officially declared Tim Drake, the second Robin? I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but anyway, no, it's the second Robin. What am I saying? The third Robin. Let's see. See, if I was a professional YouTuber, I'd go edit that part out. But no, it's like always throwing shade to Jason Todd. Anyway, Tim Drake, who has been Drake, he's been all kinds of different identities, and now there at least seems some indication that DC is announcing the character or revealing the character to be bisexual. But it's a little unclear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lay out kind of what happened, the panels we're talking about, and everything else, and you can kind of decide for yourself, what's going on here. So this really centers, as I mentioned, around Batman Urban Legends, and what was kind of surprising is that there was no real chatter about this. And Tim Drake is a reasonably high-profile character, all things considered, certainly more than other characters that have gotten marketing. So, maybe this is an indication that DC is just not putting these press releases out, or maybe the title is written as you can kind of guess what's going to happen, and they're waiting to kind of see fan reaction, which seems to be, I think, the case. But basically, Batman Urban Legends #4, we get this comic where we're having this it's a relatively short story. I think it's about 6 pages or so, maybe a little bit more. And Tim Drake is doing some crime fighting. He's talking to Oracle about things that are going on and trying to kind of help him out. And they're really doing this thing right now with Tim Drake where he's lost, or he seems untethered. He seems like he's adrift to some extent. And even kind of the solicitations for Batman Urban Legends #5 says, Tim is determined to find his friend Bernard, who is taken by a chaos monster before his very eyes, but this case is different from any Tim has taken on before, and the cracks are starting to show. The cracks starting to show being that they're kind of doing this, that Tim, his programming has been corrupted. He keeps talking about this, that he's struggling kind of in what he is doing. So that is that, and so that's the storyline they're going with. So Oracle, as I mentioned, is kind of trying to kind of check in on Tim, see how he's doing. He's burning the candle at both ends, so to speak, and he's fighting crime while he's talking to her. He's multitasking for sure, and he then says, Oracle Barbara is basically trying to say, why don't you go to college, or basically trying to give him some life advice. And through this, Tim mentions that my ex, stop talking about my ex. And in this case, the ex being Spoiler, who he'd been in a relationship with. And it was a little bit unclear whether they were dating or on a break. It was very much a friends situation there. And so they basically say, stop talking about my ex, establishing that he and Spoiler are not dating at the moment. And, more advice, Barbara's just talking. And so Tim says, I'm going to go see an old friend, and he cuts her off. And so he shows up at this, Bincy's Bar and Grill, and he's dressed in an awkward-looking suit, and the little thought bubbles, the inner narration saying, I should be looking for this monster, but why am I so nervous? It's fine. You haven't seen him in a while, but he's still the same guy. And then he gets tapped on the shoulder, and it's Bernard Dowd. And Bernard Dowd, which we'll get to in a minute, it's looking pretty like he's de-aged and goofy. Like it's a different take on Bernard to we'll show some panels here. So they have a nice hug like friends do, and then but it's the inner narration. Tim's thinking it feels like it's been years, but he looks ... and they're seemingly hinting to an attraction. So they have some small talk about Tim Wayne, and he's saying you got some money now, and kind of they're going back and forth. And just as they're having kind of this back and forth conversation, talking about their life, and he's having an easier go of it than when he was talking with Bernard. And he asks a question, what about you, Bernard? What do you want? And Bernard kind of smiles, and then they're interrupted by the Chaos Monster, who kills a waiter. And Tim basically says, Bernard, get under the table, and he leaps in, but the Chaos Monster here easily takes down Tim and throws some chloroform powder in his face, and he passes out. And his last thought is basically about Bernard. Is he okay? And when he wakes up, the police are like, "My friend, where is he?" And he's like, "Your friend's been kidnapped." And it's a shocking moment. So he's very alarmed, very scared for his friend. So basically, if you're reading this just by the panels, it certainly comes across like he's kind of has an attraction. He's not quite sure what to do with it. That definitely seems like what they're hinting at, particularly with like a lot of the ... he looks, and you're kind of, that's the conclusion they're trying to get you to make. I think that's pretty obvious, but I do think it's written in such a way that there's at least enough of they could be like, I don't know what you were talking about if there's a bad fan reaction. This is by Megan Fitzmartin, who's the writer, and again, it's tucked away here. I was misjudging. It's actually a 10-page story, I think, but it's all fairly small in this Batman Urban Legends anthology book. So the reaction on Twitter was immediately, he's one of us now. And there was he's officially canon gay. It's decided, fist on the table. He's, which is kind of what happens. They've done it for now Loki and for Star-Lord and everything else. There's always this, we claim him for the nation of Twitter. And so there was a lot of that going on. One of the funniest, by the way, and I'll show this panel of this comment that really cracked me up, is one of the fans like, oh my God, this is the best news ever. I'm really excited. I'm so pleased. And then, oh my God, Read Comic Online hasn't refreshed for me. Where'd you find this? Where can I read it? And the original poster's like, I bought it. And and all these people are like, oh, please. And another one's like, I can't buy this shit. I really am broke. It's like, so many people are like, oh, I've got to see this. Where do I find it online? Where can I scope it? This is why a lot of these comics and efforts, by the way, that always surprise Twitter of like, why didn't this title continue? Why didn't they continue with this writer, this artist, this storyline, this whatever it is? It's like, because you're not paying for it. You're saying you're broke and you can't buy this shit. Like, what? How do you think this stuff survives? But anyway, that's a comical little aside throughout this whole thing. So I think the other question here to at least kind of describe is, who's Bernard Dowd? So Bernard Dowd was created by Bill Willingham back in 2004. This would be Robin 121. And he wasn't in the title much. He was just kind of... he would show up as kind of a buddy in school. He was into conspiracy theories that Batman was working for the government and that Batman stole Robins from orphanages and everything else. And Tim Drake was kind of just his friend. He was established as having a crush on Tim's stepmother, Dana Winters. And they established this a lot, that he was very horny for Dana. And even there's a bunch of panels of him, like even when they first met, Bernard saying, never try and date any girl I like. They established Bernard as a ladies' man pretty aggressively, I would say, in the comic, particularly with the attraction to Dana Winters. So, if now they're revealing that, maybe the twist here is that Tim is bisexual, has feelings for Bernard, but Bernard is not. Again, comics don't really seem to care about this kind of stuff. But again, there was a very established history here about all this stuff. So anyway, this was wild. But that's where the character comes from. It was from Bill Willingham's run back in Robin. Not a huge character by any stretch of the imagination. Didn't have this strong it was established as a friend to Tim Drake, but 6 to 8 total appearances that he had. So it's not like this was a decades and decades of tightly established core part of Tim's supporting cast. In fact, I think if you were doing trivia, Bernard Dowd would be yeah, it would be very unlikely that people would remember this character. But is Tim Drake bisexual now? That certainly seems where the story is going. That seems in that, but again, it's written in such a way and it's tucked into this little anthology that if fans don't support it, maybe if they read it on Read Comics Online and they don't pay for it, that they could very easily dismiss it and just say, no, I don't remember that, or maybe they can use the everything matters. So this doesn't matter. Who knows? But that's basically what the story is. So if you've been seeing this on Twitter, that's what people are saying. This is the extent of this storyline so far, and what's been said about it. So you can judge for yourself, and that's what we're trying to do here. So there you go. That's the news. That's what we've got. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course. And thanks for listening.